Hey everyone, welcome to week 12, day 1. This is our second quarantine week. And for this week, we're not going to think about space, we're going to think about us, and you could be accompanied with your family like I am with Danny and with Samuel Fer, or you could be alone. And the cool thing is that even if we're alone, we have ourselves. So we can always look at ourselves. We can take selfies or we can look at ourselves in a mirror. But that's what we're going to do this week. We're just going to turn our gaze onto us and do some self-exploration. So we're going to do self-portraits this week. So let's see how we do this week. Okay, let's get started. New week, new theme. And I think it was almost inevitable for this week not to be a self-portrait week, because if we are confined to a space, if we are by ourselves, maybe we're accompanied by our family, but if we have to deal with ourselves, if we have to understand ourselves as our own company, then it was bound to happen. We have to do self-portraits, and I think this is as good a time as any, and it was especially cool for me, and you're going to see it right away after I did the Tackling Your Fears week, because I was tempted to think that the colors that I used on that painting I did of Danny were just sort of like a one-time thing. They were there to teach me a lesson. They were there to tell me, hey, don't be so judgy. There are possibilities in places that you didn't really expect. But realistically, I was like, okay, it's time to turn to my old palette and just think of that moment as a kind of cool experience. It was funky, it was fun, but that was it. It's like, yeah, you ticked off that box, that experience, check, that's it, turn the page. And then I was thinking, well, that's not the way painters usually do it. We don't usually just say, yeah, I did that once, so I know how to do it. And for me, this was kind of perfect because it is also about understanding myself through those colors, which is really, really cool now that I think about it. Because if there is one thing that is, I think, at the core of painting yourself, is that you have to face yourself. You really have to have an encounter with yourself. So there is an enormous degree of self-acknowledgement, of self-recognition, and it can be tough. It can be tough. A lot of people, I've met a lot of people, they can be students or they can be professionals, that they say, I don't want to paint myself. I really don't. And it's not a matter of just saying, I don't want to paint myself because I don't want to portray myself, like a matter of ego. It's more in the sense that you don't want to come in contact with yourself. You don't want to deal with the person that you are. You don't want to say, I'm going to be painting myself for, I don't know, for me it was, let's say 4 hours, but many people it can be tens of hours. I don't want to be confronting myself throughout all that time. A lot of people think that's egotistic and that it's kind of strange to just look at yourself for such a long time. I really do think it depends on what your focus is. If you're doing some real honest self-exploration, then you shouldn't really be afraid if those things come up because you tackle them. That's like noticing one's biases. That is totally fine. I think none of us in this planet are perfect beings. When we encounter something we don't like about ourselves, that's an opportunity to learn how to become a better person. But a lot of people just don't want to deal with that. It's like, no, it's too painful or it's way too much baggage. I just can't deal with it. I think it's a wonderful moment to be. It's very telling also the decisions you make when attempting to portray yourself, because yes, it is an encounter with yourself, but it's also the image that you are going to project when you socialize, because that's a part of painting, that's a part of art. When you socialize that image, it's also the image that you are showing to people. You are telling people, this is how I understand myself. This is how I see myself. These are the shortcomings that I found about myself, Or these are the things that I feel empowered about myself. And you take control of that and you showcase it. For me, it was really cool because I actually, when deciding to use these very gnarly colors, it actually gave me the opportunity to speak about skin, but skin in many dimensions. Yes, painting skin tones, which is terrible. I usually never like conversations about painting skin tones when people refer to like, oh, how do you paint skin? Because it's very one-dimensional. It's very sometimes quasi-racist because all people are asking is, how do you paint fair skin under cool light? Because that's what 99% of art history is, to be honest, of painting history is. It's just a bunch of like light skin, fair skin people that were very rich. That's about it. That's the majority of the portrayal of skin in art history. Is that, of course, I know that that's not the totality of it. And of course, I know there's amazing examples that showcase how varied we are as a species. But I've been on a campaign for years. For years. This has been years where I tell people to tell companies that it is not okay to call your colors flesh tint, flesh ochre, flesh light, when all you're referring to is some weird pink or like Naples yellowy pink, or just call it that. Who cares? Just make up a name, but don't call it flesh. It's ridiculous. It's backward thinking. It's insane. So please, even if you like the color, don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's just feeding into ignorance. I really do believe that if we want to make a change, we first start by language. We first start by the words we use. So if people still refer to a light, fair skin when speaking about flesh, and if they see that idea validated through companies that produce these ridiculous quote-unquote flesh colors, then we're never going to win this battle. So me being a very fair-skinned character, for me, dealing with my propensity to pinkness is actually super cool. And I thought that I was going to do this in my first self-portrait and do it as loudly as I could. So I said, okay, if I'm going to talk about this pinkness, this almost unavoidable pinkness, because for people like me and, you know, millions of fair-skinned people that are towards the pinkish hue in this planet, our skin is something that is almost bound to honesty, I always feel. And honesty in the sense that you can't really hide how you feel. So if you're cold, chances are you're going to be bright red. If you are shy, chances are you're going to be bright red. If you're hot, chances are you're going to be bright red. If you eat something that was spicy, you turn bright red. If you cough too loud, you turn bright red. So it's a color that usually speaks about how you feel, and you can't hide it. You can't do anything. It's like right there, and it's telling people, yeah, this is how that person feels. So there's no way of avoiding it. I've seen some people that are absolutely in panic when they are doing public speaking, for example. And somebody like me, if they were like super shy, we would turn like bright red and the room temperature would go up like 10 degrees. But no, some people, they look comfortable and they look fine, but they would tell you, you know, as soon as they were done speaking, they were like, I was about to faint, I couldn't speak, my heart was racing, I was about to die, I didn't know what to do. And for us, it's like for me, it's like, well, I didn't see it. Like I didn't see anything in your body speaking about discomfort. Skin like my skin, it's like, oh no, I'll take this. I can totally speak about discomfort and do it very eloquently. And so people are going to notice. We're going to make that very, very clear. And so I've always not battled with it, but I guess I come to terms with it. It's like my skin is something that is very sensitive to anything. So again, to me, it's very empowering, but it's also super, super fun to just say this thing that covers my whole body, I'm going to paint it with the most unavoidable color. And it's actually kind of cool. It's actually very nice. As soon as I put that very transparent magenta down, I was like, hell yeah, that's it. And I loved that we do half-hour videos because the camera doesn't let us do anymore. Like the Sony camera lets you do like 29-minute video, something like that. So we do like around 28, 27, 29 minute videos. So Danny always comes around and she stops the video and then she starts it back again. And it's actually very cool for me because I'll know how I'm doing based on how many times we have to break. And I remember in the first stages of the painting, she came by and she was like, "Oh, that's you already. That's totally you." And I loved it. I actually thought that's super, super cool because this color actually feels familiar. It was very weird because when I was speaking about the colors, I spoke of them as being strident, I think. And when I was doing the painting of Danny in the Tackle Our Fears week, I was like, "Oh, these colors are way too loud. They're just kind of noisy and ugh." And it was kind of cool associating the color with myself so that I could now say, well, let me just use this color in terms of making it work for me. Let me appropriate this color. Let me feel if I can really, really push my painting now and my understanding of myself through this color. Instead of just being in what I felt was a race where I was almost running behind the color when I was doing Danny's painting. Instead of feeling that, I felt, no, I want to be ahead of it. I want to be on top of it. I want to say, no, I already kind of know how you behave. I already know what your benefits are because the transparency in that color is just, it's insane. I mean, the chroma, when that color is transparent and the white of the surface filters through, it's just insane. It's like nothing I've ever painted. And I thought, let me use this. Let me really, really use this. And let me feel like I have control over this. So it's really beautiful to couple a sense of control, a feeling of control over a color. And it's actually also speaking about the feeling of control that you have over your body and over the way you're representing yourself and over the acknowledgement of who you are and feeling okay with it and saying, I'm going to push this. I'm going to push the hell out of this, and it's totally fine and it feels awesome. And as soon as the painting is done, I'm like, hell yeah, that's what I was looking for. And I think I mentioned him before in passing. I did like a small shout out, but this all has to do with courage. I think that when we confront ourselves with our own image, the one thing you need is a dose of courage. And sometimes we need a huge dose of courage. Sometimes we really need it to be like a huge kick in our backside. And I think one of the people that I met that gave me that sense of courage was Ben Bjorklund. I really do feel I will never be able to give him enough credit for all the amazing things that he has taught me. And he has taught me indirectly without him even knowing. But just what I can see in his painting and what I know about him and what I know about his sensibility, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. He's somebody who's self-taught, which right from the start, it makes it insane. It's just insane to understand how somebody that has that degree of understanding of tools never studied art. I don't know. It boggles my mind. But also, there's like a quiet sense of security in everything he does, in every stroke, every decision that he makes. He's just slowly but surely being able to build these paintings, these watercolors that, I don't know. I mean, in the end, it's like every single choice is just him. And they are very simple choices. His synthesis in paint is just extraordinary. So whenever I feel that I need to remind myself to be brave and to say, maybe in life, maybe in regular life, these things are tough for you, like understanding how to be okay in your own skin, for me, literally. But through paint, you can be very courageous. Maybe in life, it takes a little bit more, but maybe when you sit down and when you're painting, you can be superhuman. And whenever I kind of feel that I need that power, that I need that push, I always think of Ben. I really always do. I think he is one of the most remarkable painters I've ever seen. It's just his sensibility, the way he is, just couples perfectly his painting. I just think we are blessed to have him, and we should protect him in a sense that Ben should paint whatever the hell he wants to paint. whenever the hell he wants to paint it, and that's it. And nobody should mess with that because it is in our own benefit to let him just be. He could do a watercolor in like 10 minutes, and oh my God, that's just the highlight of my day, of my week. So this week was about that, about having an honest encounter with yourself, because why not? We're enclosed in our apartment. We have nowhere else to go. We have to deal with ourselves. Might as well be honest. What are you going to lose, right? So this week is going to be about that. Just like painful honesty, whatever that means. It doesn't mean you have to like count all the blemishes you have in your skin and then paint that. If that's what you want to do, then perfect. But it doesn't mean that. You don't have to be tough on yourself, I feel. I feel that whenever we have to be honest with ourselves, we can also be compassionate, and we can also give ourselves like strength, grant ourselves strength. So we're going to try to do that this week. I was super happy to do that in this first painting. And it is teaching me that those colors, man, they are some weird hues with some insane chroma. But when I'm on top of them, when I tell them, okay, now I think I know how to use you, then I feel super cool about them. So that was it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Spanish Tuesday. So brush up on your Spanish. I always tell people. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out. Bye.